Hello again. Right, now the job today is to put two of these in the side of the van, and this is a thing I've never done before. This is a new thing for me. It's very similar to putting the other windows in, but with the other types of windows you have a sort of template to cut round the skin of the door sort of thing, but this will need a template making for it specifically, and there's a few other things inside the van. Let's just have a look at that. Right, these are going in this back panel here. So this has to come out. I believe this is just spot welded, so we should be able to get that out fairly readily. And then we want an accurate placement for those windows, which we're going to refer back to the plans that I have for this, and we're going to get one of those in either side. That's the job for today. This is a, what's it called, is a universal bonded window for a camper van. But the very first thing that we need to do is make an accurate template for our cutting line. What I'm going to do for that is just cut a straight edge on this cardboard, which is what we're going to use for the initial template. That will do it. So, first thing we want, actually I'm going to put a little piece of cloth here just to lay this window on. That's better, it'll just save that from getting scratched or damaged at all. Okay, so now from this line I'm just going to put a random line for the top of this, and I'll measure down there 7 centimeters, and I'll measure down there 7 centimeters. Now I'll join those two up, and next thing we want is a measurement from this lip here to this lip here. The only other thing to consider here is, do I put a U-channel on or not? It's not essential. Could build the internal structure of the van right up to the cut, but if we do put the U-channel on, then our measurements would have to be different to accommodate that. So I'm going to take it like this first, and I'm saying that from those two sections there, just giving that a little bit of air around it, that is 20.7. So we're going to measure down here from that line 20.7, and from this line 20.7, and then we can draw this line in. Now similarly, again with this, we have the lip at this end of it, but we don't have one at this end. So I'm just going to pretend there's one there. That lip is actually 15mm, so I'm going to take that 15mm over from the ceramic area of this, from there and to there. That is 72. If we made that 72, we would have a little bit of air around it. So 72 it is. Alright, that's on the line. Very good. And similar there. Now the other thing to consider is we also do have a curvature on this, so on something which will resemble that curve, and I've just eyeballed that really on the corners of this, and that's fairly close. So I'm going to use that just to mark out the curvature on these corners. Okay, that being that, we just want a nice sharp blade and we want to cut that out. Alrighty, so we'll take these straight lengths off first. And if the theory has worked, then this should fit around that lip nice and tight. A little bit too tight there. Okay, a little bit of nibbling on here, and I'm saying that is spot on. Now I've marked this side. This is the non-opening side, because that radius now is slightly different to that one, but that's okay. We'll know what we're doing with this. Now, before actually cutting a hole in the van, what I'm going to do is cut this hole in a piece of scrap plywood, one of the old panels from the van, because I want to make absolutely sure I'm doing the right thing here before I start cutting the van. Okay, so this is one of the old panels. I believe this was off the sliding door where I put the window, and what I'm going to do is just mark around this template. Now I'm going to cut that out with my jigsaw exactly the same way as I would do on the van, and we're going to see if the window fits in there, which it should. Okay, moment of truth. We have the window. This is the non-opening side, so I'll put that on there. Yes, I'm saying that fits well all the way around. I'm confident to cut a hole in the van that shape. What we'll do is batten this right the way up to the van, and then we'll carpet that right the way in. So this will make like a little a windowsill sort of thing around it, yeah? I think that's going to be better, because if we put the U channel on this, it leaves very little space to get the bonding material on. I do have some of the J channel, which is lesser on one side, but still we're fairly tight with these, with the amount of window which is left to put the bonding on, and we want to make sure that there's not too much of that oozing out, so it needs to be fairly close to this line. Alrighty, so the next thing to do is to start prepping this panel up, and first thing we want to do with that is just drill out the spot welds on this middle section, and then I have a 10mm metal bit which should take out the rest of those spots. The whole thing should just come off the side of the van, like so. A little bit of cleaning up there to do, no problem. We'll scrape this off as well. Yeah, just a little bit there. I'll clean that up with a grinder later. Now I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so far so good. Now for the positioning of these windows, I refer back to the plan. Now this one here, from the ground, from the floor, 1350. So the bottom line of that is 1350 from the floor. I want it centrally in here, and we know that this is 120. So I'm going to measure 60 in from the back. I'll measure the 1350 up from the floor, and then we'll get that positioned with those two main measurements. Okay, so from the back door, as I say, the bed here is 120, so that's up to there, and therefore we want 60 here, which is about there. Now I'm going to check that because it does look a little bit close to this side, and if it needs to move along a bit, we can do that, as long as we get it equal both sides for the sake of symmetry. So the measurement up from the floor is 1350, but there is something to add to that. We're going to put some 25mm insulation down on the floor, and we're going to put an 11mm OSB subfloor. So that's another 36mm going onto that, which gives us a total of 1386. So I'm going to come up here, 1386, see how we all look. I think we're going to be too high here. 1386. Yes, that is going to be too high. So we need to think again on that one. I'd like it as high as possible, but I don't think that's going to work, and I'm also unsure about this. So what I'm going to do is bring the template in and just see how this looks. Ah yes, you see, the best laid plans of mice and men. This is our 60 mark, and if we put the centre of that on the 60, we're far too close to this side, and obviously if we put that there, it's not going to work at all. So we want to rejig this a little bit, and I'll do that Let me see, I'll put the 120 mark on here so we know how far the bed's coming out. So that's 60 from, so from that mark there we want another 60. Right, the bed's coming out of there. And the cabinets on the roof are going to be about 30 deep. That's there, plenty of room there. So the thing we want to decide is, where does this go? I'd like it as far back as possible, but I think if we had it there, again we want to take into account that the window is going to overlap that on the outside. So I think that would be acceptable there. I'll maybe take it down just a little touch. I mean, the upholstery on the bed is going to come to about here, so we've got plenty of room there. I'm going to go with that. Yeah? So I'm going to make a mark here, and I'll make a mark there for the centre. I'll make a mark here for that side, and I'll make a mark there for that side. Okay. Now we can take these measurements just so that we duplicate it on the other side of the van. Okay, so from this line here, we can measure that down, and that is 8 centimetres. So, and again we'll take it from this panel here, and the first one in is 12 centimetres. And just to make absolutely sure, the window's going on this way, so this is the non-opening side, which I will also mark. And oh, non-opening. That may be the other way around for the other side, but we'll check on that when we get to it. Okay, so we have some lugs of masking tape on there. We're just going to line all that up. There it is. That's it. Get that masking tape secured. Okay, now I just want to take the pen, draw around our template, and that should be ready to go. Unfortunately, it's looking suspiciously like rain outside. We're not forecast for it, forecast for a sunny afternoon, but I'm going to see if these clouds pass, and whilst that's happening I'll just do the same thing as that on the other side of the van here. Okay, so I'm as happy as I'm going to get about these measurements. So I'm going to start drilling at this point. Now I'm just going to do some pilot holes around this, and then I'm going to put some holes in for the jigsaw, and I should be able to sort out from this side of the van. Normally you would do it from the other side, but because this isn't hitting any of these ribs at all, I think we'll have plenty of room there to get the jigsaw from the inside. So first things first, let's drill some pilot holes. Right, so that's the pilot hole. Now I'm going to use this 10mm drill to put the openings in for the jigsaw. Good. Happy with that. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit with a file. I'm going to cut the other one out, and then we'll bond both of these on at the same time. Next thing to do is stick the primer on. Now unfortunately I run out of those little doofers that you put the primer on with, but I do have a piece of cotton wool, and I think that will do the same job. That seems to work. We've got about 4 centimetres leeway here on the window itself, so I'm hoping this will be enough. We are just about ready for the bonding of these. We have the alcohol wipe just to clean the ceramic surface down, and just get any grease or anything off there. And I have the bonding material in the bucket of hot water to just loosen that up a little bit. Okay, so the bonding material has been in the bucket for a while, and that should be ready to go at this point. Okay, so this is the top of the window, and we're going to start here and just work our way around. There we are, that's a continuous bead. Now, back outside. Okay, so we have our window, and we just want to get that into position and pushed onto the van. That is looking good. A little bit flappy here, just where it hasn't got much of a, where the panel is flapping a little, but we have some of these lugs of tape already prepared to just hold that in place. There's not a lot of weight in this window. There was a lot in the door window, I tell you. That was definitely a two-man job. Okay, happy with that. Yes, I'll just tape that down at the bottom also. Not looking too bad at all, and we haven't got the ooze that I thought might occur there, so that is good. Let's check the side of that. Yes, all of that material is bonded nicely. That seems to be a good fit. Good, next one. Okay, and there is window number 2. So that one's in, sitting nicely on the side of the van, and this other one is in. Again, sitting very nicely. I'm sure that'll be fine. I'll give it plenty of time to go off though. And as I said earlier, we've got these side window in, and we've got the back windows in. So that is it for the windows in this van. The one which would have gone here, I'm going to make that into like a tiled sort of kitchen area, and it will have a vent or fan on the roof to take anything out from the hob. But that is how I fitted these universal bonded windows onto the side of my Peugeot Boxer van. I thank you very much for watching.